What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Chris Corvan, and welcome to another episode of Dripping Creativity Podcast. Today, we are joined by the illustrious creator, the DM's Guide, a game master, storyteller, writer, and digital map maker. We dive deep into tabletop RPGs, such as D&D, Fallout, and how to encourage new players. But before we get into that, I wanted to let you all know about an indie author whose book just landed on pre-order. Dive into the captivating world of Cherry Trail, a story from Havenburg. Follow childhood friends Kat and Jace as they navigate the challenges of growing up in the cozy town of Havenburg, Michigan. Authored by S.M.R. Burton, Cherry Trail explores themes of friendship, love, and self-discovery with honesty and depth. Pre-orders available now on Amazon, with the release date set for May 24th, 2024. So go and pick up your copy at Cherry Trail because some friendships are worth fighting for. Now let's jump right into the interview with DM's Guide. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I am Justin Gann. I am probably maybe a little bit more well-known as the DM's Guide on Threads and Instagram, probably on Discord as well. But yeah, I've been working on trying to maybe publish my current homebrew campaign called Off the Rails, which is set in D&D 5e world of Eberron, and it's very Wild West themed, but also we're not leaving out any of the traditional like Eberron and D&D things either. But yeah, other than that, I build maps on Incarnate. I just kind of started that side business not too long ago. But yeah, I like to help people out with getting involved with TTRPGs or D&D. Probably more specifically, I've been learning some new systems. I'm currently working on Fallout, the modifius 2D20 version of that game. I'm a big Fallout nerd, so I've really enjoyed the show that just came out on Prime not very long ago. That was awesome.
It is so good, man. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I can't even. I've watched it twice now.
Oh,
I have. It blew me away with how amazing that fucking show was.
Yeah, man. That I feel like by the time we got to the end of season 1, I'm not going to give away any spoilers or anything like that, but I felt like by the end of season 1, like we really just started cooking with the story. And I was like, I'm glad that there's going to be a season 2, because what a setup for a season 2. But I was like, I was a little disappointed in that. Not any of the content, just that it felt like, oh man, like we're really hitting a stride now, and now it's the end of the season.
Yeah. Well, and it like even going back through the second time, it's literally primed as the introduction section of any video game.
Oh, 100%.
It
100%
introduced everything important, gave you a couple side quests, let you know these are the stakes involved, and now we get to actually get into the game with the next season. And I'm so fucking excited, man. I could rant about that show for like at least 2 hours. I loved it so much.
Well, yeah. I don't know how much time you have, but I know if you do want to talk Fallout at any point in time, whether it's the games, the show, whatever, like I am down. But
don't worry. We're going to be pulling some stuff in for that stuff.
Fantastic.
I got some extra things coming later on.
But yeah,
okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I have been so reinvigorated about learning the Fallout TTRPG. I'm already homebrewing stuff for it because I want to include a lot of different aspects. It's mostly built around Fallout 4 with kind of some mentions of things in like 3 and whatnot, but like with it being placed in and around 4 and that time frame, I also wanted to bring in Appalachia, so for like Fallout 76, but that means I've got to come up with about 180 years of in-universe history for that area and how they got to the East Coast. So that's what I'm currently working on. I'm always doing something with story, whether it's for my game or this little side project just because I can. It's fun.
Dude, you preach to the choir. That's exactly how my shit goes too.
Yep.
It's just entirely too much fun to create worlds. I definitely enjoy it a lot. Okay, so then let's roll this all back. Where did this love of tabletop and all of that come from?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm not ever 100% sure, but I always feel like probably mostly my Boy Scout days, like just, as a kid growing up, um, you know, sometimes there's not a lot to do on like a rainy night if you're out in the middle of nowhere, and the older guys, because Scouts runs from like about like 10 up through 18. So some of the older guys, when I was just starting, they were into Vampire the Masquerade, and I was like, oh, like obviously like you guys are telling a story, but like it seems like there's more to it than that. And so they kind of explained, it's technically it's a game, and they kind of gave me like the brief kind of rules and kind of confines of what that entails, and then from there it just kind of spread out into other things like D&D and Pathfinder. God, I wish I could remember some of the other stuff that the guys used to do back then, but that got me really onto the path of, once we hit D&D, like that's been really, I would say, my focus since then.
Awesome. So when you got brought into it and all of that, was it strictly with the intention of being a GM, or were you more just player invested and then found yourself?
Oh, I didn't start DMing until, I was probably out of high school. So I was just, being someone who played a lot of video games and things like that, and growing up in the era that I did, like I played outside a lot as well. You didn't have like a screen, and you weren't always internet connected and shit like that. So I just, I think it was kind of the using your imagination to tell a story, but in that group setting. I think that seed right there is kind of what has grown slowly over time, and really in the last, decade, really started to, I guess, blossom, as it were. I've been running my own home campaign for I guess it'll be 6 years this summer. That's my current one anyway. And I've already got sorry, let me back up. That campaign is called Dark Heart of the Dragon Below. And then my next campaign, like I was talking about earlier, Off the Rails, which is fully like homebrewed other than the world itself. I've already got that one locked and loaded, ready to go. So I'm very excited about that. Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like, so with my current campaign, it was really just, that was for me and my players. That's all that was ever designed to be. This was, I really felt like a strong pull, and I felt like I had a lot more direction with this. I could probably publish the other one, but if I'm being really honest, like there's been some like big points of like things being disjointed and stuff like that. But like this one, like my players are already invested, so it's going to be 100% like for me and my players as well. But I felt like in talking to other people, just whether it's Discord or online and in other spaces, a lot of people were like, wow, this is really interesting. I love this. And I've never really had that kind of, I guess, investment in people when I've talked about the things that I've been doing before. So yeah, I guess that's just been kind of my push to really kind of finish sort of fleshing this out, and start working on, hopefully maybe this fall or something, just start actually formatting it in a way that it will actually be a published source. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. As you know, I have my Candela Obscura one that I still have to find the time to do the actual play for, but so I understand, especially the formatting of it all is a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
really. It's in itself, like at least when I was doing mine, it's very much it's a new type of game, because now you have to format the book in a way where you're giving all the information needed in a way that makes sense and is still searchable later on.
Right. I think that's why I've had such a hard time with just getting started. And if I get some free time, like dedicated free time, I would love to talk to somebody who's done it, because I'm like, I have a shit ton of notes in Obsidian, which that's the app that I use for all of my notes. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's in any kind of format that like makes sense as far as like chapters. Like I just have it broken into like, here's the towns, and like here's their lore, and here's some characters, and here's their lore, and here's like my like thoughts for running this campaign, and like some extra thing. So I'm sure there's enough material I could do it, but I have no idea where to start with formatting it. So
okay, so then let's talk more about the storytelling aspect, and what is your approach to telling a story? Are you doing it with a specific theme in mind, or is it just a story to tell? Like, what's your process?
So, I mean, I guess in regards to Off the Rails, yeah, there's definitely some super heavy themes. Like I said, with Off the Rails being the name of it, I really wanted to kind of focus on Wild West themes. Again, I really want to capture all of the elements that people are familiar with within D&D, specifically the Eberron setting, which, as kind of a sidebar, I feel like Eberron lends itself a bit better to that kind of Wild West feel based on kind of the technology and sort of the world at large. But I really just started with, I just want to do cowboy shit in a D&D world. Like that was truly like just that was my initial like pin in the board, as it were, and that's where I started.
I absolutely, that's my favorite shit right there, is like, this is what I want to do. Like my homebrew that I ran for my son, and I'm going to be bringing back here, I wanted sci-fi horror but in D&D, and so that's what I crafted, and so excited to finally find time for that one. So yeah, no, I absolutely. Okay, so then with the overall story of it, are you focused in telling a morality tale? Are you just going for the action? What's your end goal with it all?
Excellent question. So there's kind of two answers to this. One is my play-by-post group, and one is my tabletop group. I have been, and this is just a little bit of side information to get to your question, but I started kind of beta testing this campaign, as it were, with a group of friends that are just in a Discord, where we're all part of a particular streamer's community, and the streamer is big into D&D, and so when we were just kind of talking on stream, and I brought it up, and some other people were like, yeah, again, this is where I get my reinforcement. People are like, man, that sounds really cool. Like, I've never really done D&D, but this sounds super fun. I'm like, well, would you guys be interested in this? So for them, I've just been sort of more story-wise focused on the character development. I think it's because of the style of it being play-by-post and it being much slower and kind of just an as people have time kind of thing. So I can really dig into those like interpersonal relationships and things that are easier to just I mean, it's literally like writing like little micro novellas kind of for people's turns and kind of the back and forth there. And then with that, I got to thinking more about what I wanted to do for my home campaign, and I already had some ideas about adding in just some horror elements, but not like Curse of Strahd kind of horror, because I've run them through things like that. I wanted to focus on are you familiar with the show Supernatural?
Yes.
So kind of those types of horror things, so like Supernatural, Eldritch horror, extra planner stuff, angels and demons,
monster of the week style stuff.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, so there's gonna be these different kind of factions at play, and I mean, not to like give anything away, but yeah, there's gonna be kind of some major factions that are kind of at a race with themselves or against themselves, and the players will come across like hints and details and kind of find things that are pointing to something other than, you know, like, oh, what happened here. And then if they follow these leads, they will find themselves very well in the middle of this kind of Cold War arms race between these two very not good factions. And so there will definitely be, like, you know, train heists and like blowing shit up and gunfights, but there's also going to be the stuff that you expect from a D&D campaign with like magic and mystery and exploration and things like that. And that's kind of what I have been working towards with my home table.
That is so fucking cool, man. I am 100% on board for all of that shit. That is just, just listening to it is like, that's some juicy shit. I can't wait to find out more about all of that. So then, going from that part of the creation to digital map making, let's talk more about that.
So I've always enjoyed maps. Whether it's just, again, probably going back to Boy Scouts, you know, cartography and things like that, reading a map. I've always kind of enjoyed maps in general. And it's something that I like to do. As far as like making maps for like my own games, I was like, I'm not like a master at this by any means, but I feel like whether it's for D&D games or even for like, I've kind of hooked up with some other writers and things like that, you know, talking to them, it sounds like they're interested in maybe commissioning a map for their fantasy stories or things like that. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, that's something I could certainly do. I don't expect it to be like a big business for me, but it's something I enjoy doing. And if I can make, you know, a little bit of money and offer a service that is helpful to people, then why not?
I completely agree. That is so awesome. Like I know there's a couple in the cafe that have mentioned wanting maps before, and I know specifically for me, I'm going to be talking to you about one for the main town of my Candela game, because that's literally the only thing I'm missing right now is the map, and it's like I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
it's just so much time.
It is. Now I will say, yeah, it is a lot of time, but it's one of those things that, yeah, as I have time, whether it's like between stuff at work or if I'm just on a weekend, you know, I can pull out my laptop and work on it for a little bit, kind of thing. But yeah, I've really just kind of gotten started with that. Mostly what I've been doing is, in addition to the maps, I do what I call just a DM consult, where, you know, it can be a player, it can be a DM, it can be somebody outside of the TTRPG scape, as it were, that has questions, or maybe somebody that is having a problem in their game and they need like some troubleshooting, or, you know, they need another DM, somebody who's familiar with games to kind of be like a sounding board. And somebody, you know, as someone who's run my own games for a long time, I've seen a lot of the different things there are out there. You know, I've had moments where things come up and I'm like, oh, I am not prepared for this at all. So if I can have that kind of if I can offer just like to be an ear or something like that, I definitely don't charge a lot for it by any means. But again, if it's a service that's helpful to people and it makes them feel more comfortable with either like getting into gaming or more comfortable being a DM or feeling better as a player, I think that's worth it to me.
Oh, hell yeah. No, again, it's supporting a community and uplifting everyone instead of, you know, hoarding it all to yourself. Oh, yeah. And I not only appreciate that, I love that. I think that is just so awesome to do, which goes nicely into your social media and community approach to things. How did that come about? Like, did it just start with, hey, I have a friend who needed my help, and then, oh, there's somebody online? Like, how do you go about becoming this person that is the guide of the DMs?
I think it was just, I knew, at least specifically with joining Threads, I was feeling very motivated with my work with Off the Rails. And I'm like, well, you know, if this is kind of the track that not to be too punny about it, but the track that my mind was already on, I was like, well, maybe instead of just having like, I mean, not that I'm not going to be myself on social media, but if I can kind of brand myself, maybe I'll stand out a little bit better than I have in like on, you know, X and different things like that. Because I've ventured out other ways and never really made a lot of ground with that. And I don't think I didn't even really start it like as a business to start with. I just wanted to be involved in like the TTRPG and like D&D kind of groups, because that's my passion. That's what I do on my downtime. And I was like, well, you know, the DM's Guide, it's both a pun or a play on words of the DM Guide itself, but also like as somebody who likes to venture out, I'm happy to like bring people into the fold. I've hosted some like character builder workshops and things like that, and I was like, that's the type of stuff that I'd like to do. So maybe just rallying around this kind of branding, as it were, might be a better way to kind of get an in that I haven't really had before.
No, definitely. I think that's rolling it back there just to how you're presenting yourself online. I think that is something I understand a lot, in the fact that, you know, who you see as the guy on Threads and Instagram and all that, very positive, very uplifting. It is me, but it's kind of just a specific part of me turned up more, right? And
yeah,
that's you know how you get known more than anything. It's like that's who I want people to see.
Yep. And
by you focusing on the TTRPG area really helps develop the contacts within that, like the people you're meeting and the people who, you know, come to you and turn to you is fantastic, and you're developing a very strong community there, and I think that's freaking awesome. And as you're talking, I'm coming up with like a million different things. It's like, oh, we could try this and we could do that. So I was like, no, tone it down, Chris. It's okay. Just wait, spread it out, man. You got too much shit going on as it is, man.
But yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. Like, whether or not like the business side of it ever takes off, I really don't care. I'm in the space to be that person. Like you said, it's absolutely a part of me. It's just maybe some of the other things that aren't pertaining to that, I just kind of like put on the back burner, like all of my like weather stuff. You know, I have another social media for all of that stuff. Like my Urbex and Paranormal, like that's a whole separate thing. But like this is where I was like, I want to focus in on this.
That's a whole bunch of shit you didn't even put on the damn form. What the hell, man?
Well,
dropping that shit in here, like
yeah. Well, you know, just put some breadcrumbs out there if you want to come back anytime.
Oh yeah. oh no, dude. I have a feeling you're going to be a reoccurring character in this series. I'm just going to throw that out there now.
That's fine with me.
All right. So now with a billion thoughts running through my head, let's see if I can focus it back down here. You mentioned a lot of collaboration that you're having with a lot of people in the community, and it could be rewarding but also challenging. Is there anything you've come across recently that has been, well, one side extremely just rewarding to you, and then has there been times where you're like, I really don't want to be here?
I really haven't run into any negative, which is nice, and I'm sure that, you know, there are some people that certainly do. I would just say the positives are, you know, I've had the chance to talk to so many other people that maybe I wouldn't normally. You know, I've talked to so many other like creators and things like that, you know, and I feel like there's genuine relationships there that in the past, like outside of Threads, like when I've tried to do this before, it never really latched. But I don't know if it was just like that because I got on early and because like I really focused in on like this one area. I feel like, you know, if I were to reach out to, you know, 5 people in the TTRPG space, like right off the top of my head, you know, I would get genuine responses back. And I think that's super cool. Like, it's like, hey, you know, I have this idea. What do you guys think about this? You know, like, hey, I'd love for you specifically to weigh in on this. And it's not one of those things where that would just go unheard. You know, if I were to tag somebody like that, I feel like I would actually get that response back. And it's neat to know that there are these people, you know, with like their YouTube and Twitch channels and stuff like that. These are people that are doing all kinds of stuff. You know, I'm still just like I have my physical table and I have a play-by-post, but I get to interact with all these people, and I think that's awesome.
Definitely. Well, and that's one of the things that I've loved about Threads personally, is especially in our kind of corner of Threads. I know there's many other ones that are not quite as good, but the creative side that we have kind of found over here has just been unlike any other social media
Truly.
that I've found, because it's like really amazing people. And if you go outside of Threads, they have massive audiences, but here, you know, it's a little more small, but it's more genuine and real.
And I think kind of like what I'm doing, like you said, you put it really well, in that it's like, it's me, it's just a focused version of me. And I know that that's still, even with these people, like, that's what I'm getting, but there is always that realness to it. And I mean, I feel like in this particular community, you can pick up on it so fast, and like, you can tell the people that get the vibe, and the people that are just like, it's that very surface level, like stuff you'd expect over, again, like on X or Facebook or whatever. And it's just cool to be in this space at this time. I don't know what else to even say about that.
Well, I completely agree. I mean, well, hell, I was able to create the cafe literally off of Threads.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it all started, was just a poll, and 18 people said, yeah, I would do it. I only expected 18 people to join the Discord channel. And then within the first week, we had 100. I'm like, oh, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
This is now turning into something. And it's sparked the creative side, not only in myself, but in the people in the community. It's everybody's kind of feeding each other, and that's really what the whole point was just creators helping creators and that type of thing. And with you doing that in the tabletop side, it's just, oh, it's beautiful, man. I absolutely love it. Yeah,
man.
No, so with that, before we get into anything else, one of the things I've been noticing a lot lately, especially with this resurgence with D&D happening over the past, Critical Role's been 9 years?
Yeah, Critical Role's been for a hot minute. Yeah. And I would even say, like, then we've had another one, like with Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, well, Baldur's Gate, and then with how well D20's doing.
For sure, yeah.
They're, oh god, it's so good. Anyways, so with all of these amazing things out there and the interest growing, I'm seeing a lot of chatter online of people going, I don't know how to start and I'm very afraid.
Bingo.
And I totally get that. For those people, and I mean, there are definitely ways to help them get into it, and we'll cover that later. But what advice could you get to kind of help them want to take that first step? Because that's always the hardest part, right?
I think, now, one, that's an excellent question. I mean, two, that's kind of a role I've kind of been happy to take on. But if it's just general advice, I think trying to find your community. I think once you find a community that gets it and is open to helping new folks, you know, I know that in and of itself can be scary, and can be daunting, but there are a lot of really good, just even if it's not like a D&D or TTRPG specific community, but maybe that's a part of it. I think just getting into a friendly, open community is a big help, because then as long as you feel like you're in a safe space and that you can just ask your questions, I mean, that's a game changer, you know, like just being able to say, I don't know anything, but I would like to do this thing. And just, you know, be able to solicit advice from all these different people and get these different answers. Because not every answer is going to align with any particular person. You know, it might take you a few answers to be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense to me, or like that feels more like my speed, just because there are so many game types, there's so many tables, there's so many personalities. You know, I'm sure that even as open and as accepting as I am, you know, not everything that I say is going to be necessarily well received by everybody, and that's cool. And you just have to understand that, one, as a creator, but then also two, like coming into the space, just know that there are a ton of answers that will get you to the same spot. You just have to find what one makes sense and feels correct to you. Because once you find that, you're going to find the other people that are the same way.
I honestly couldn't even said that better. It's very much, you have your critical role people who are different than your D20 people, who are different than, you know, like, it's not a one size fits all.
Oh no.
When it comes to this, and there's so many different styles of play, even with GMs and DMs alone, right? Like myself, I'm very much a cinematic storyteller. I really like to engross with the environment and then play with the emotional connections. Like I will gladly take an entire session of just talking over, you know, a 4-hour fight, just because it's more engaging and it's more in depth. But you have people that only want the 4-hour fight, and that's totally cool too.
Yeah.
Like if you're in there for the action, hell yes, go find those people that love that.
Yeah.
Like those people will not enjoy my style. I will tell you that right now.
And that, again, as a creator, you have to be, and that's kind of the other side of the kind of the message that I put out there, is like, from creator to creator, like, you have to understand that not all your shit's gonna land, and that's okay. Just like from a player perspective, not every table's for you, and that's not even from like a gatekeeper kind of, that's just being honest. For exactly the reasons that you just said, there are so many different types of tables that, yeah, it's just there. But it's a beautiful thing in that there are so many options these days. You're not going to get the same thing from GM to GM at all.
No, and that's the best. Well, even with each system, you're going to find so many different styles to play that system. I know one of the ones that I've been really itching to get into is the Cyberpunk one. I've never played or run a game there, but man, I am just, I love that world so much, man. Oh god, it's so good.
That is another one. If I ever have the time, I would love to learn it, because I love the universe, but like, yeah, I have too many fingers and too many jars.
Too many systems, man. Like, well, so, you know, just to sidetrack here for a bit, my Candela campaign originally started out as a game of Dread.
Oh, okay.
Because I love that system. Just Jenga tower, you want to make a move, make a pull, right? Yep. And like, you know, fate decides how it's going to go. And so that's how I developed that entire thing. And then due to specific reasons, it was brought to my attention that Candela was probably a better way to go. So I literally had to take everything I had built for Dread, and then like what I thought was going to take me a day took me about 3 months just to reformat it all. But at the same time, it's like there are systems that are similar to other ones that just fit better for what your play style is. Yep. And it's not, you know, there's not one that's better than the other. They're not. It's whatever works for you is what matters. Yep. And I don't give a shit who trash talks whatever system. I don't pay attention to people who are shit talking other systems, because it's not for them.
No, that's
so
the thing. Yeah,
their voice doesn't matter, right?
100%.
And finding that table that is for you with the people that are like you is so good. And it boils down to people need to be accepting of new players more than anything. Like, not everyone is going to be experienced. Not everyone's going to be as experienced as you. And I bet you there's going to be people more experienced than you are.
Oh, yeah.
Just be accepting and have fun. It's a fucking game.
Yep. Oh, for sure.
And, you know, so yeah, like your messages, what you're trying to do, I think is absolutely amazing. And it's so good that you're out there doing it because, tabletop needs it, man. Like, yeah, no, and I think finding a specific way to help new players who love it but just don't know how to do it in a way that's easy to be accessible for them, I think is going to be something I would like to talk to you about later.
Oh, 100%.
Because I have ideas, and I think you and I kind of share a very similar wavelength when it comes to this. So that I appreciate.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to start winding this down.
Okay.
I have no idea how long we've been talking now because my day has been totally clusterfucked.
As they do.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. So, rapid fire question. What's your favorite character you've ever played?
Oh, God. No.
Yeah, come on, quick, man.
Okay,
quick.
I think it's an NPC that I play. His name is Zoradan, and he's a big NPC that is a part of my Off the Rails campaign. He's a marshal, so he's above like sheriffs and deputies, and he is a gunslinger with a little bit of clockwork sorcerer thrown in there too.
Perfect. If you could pick one system to travel into, what would it be?
One system. Ooh. I'm real obsessed with Fallout right now, man.
You would actually go to... Oh, dude. Would you want to live there, though?
I wouldn't want to live there. That's not... no, that was not your question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
If I'm going to dip my toes in Fallout. Now, if I have to live there, I would put myself in my own world. 100%. Hands down. No questions.
You know what? I get that. Right off the top of your head, has there been an unexpected or hilarious moment that stands out of any of your games?
Oh, God.
As quickly as you possibly can.
So beta testing for this campaign, I did just an introductory one shot with my in-person table, and they were in the middle of like countering a train heist, but due to some physics, a sleet spell ended up just getting cast, and the train just blew right on through it. So there was some shenanigans that ensued because of that.
You know what? I love that. Has there been any house rules or homebrew things that have just stuck with players that kind of have stuck with you through any system? You can modify it.
So not with necessarily my Darkheart campaign, but with Off the Rails, I have some. Using story points, my players really love that. Exploding dice, they're super fucking excited about exploding dice.
Oh yeah.
And then I've got a mechanic that I've created called Off the Rails. It's story point fueled, but it gets into a layer of ridiculousness. What I do is I reward them chips, like poker chips, and they can either cash them in individually or they can pool them together to go like all in, and they get the more chips, the more actual narrative control they get over the game in that particular scenario.
I fucking love that, man. Oh my God. Why didn't I think of some shit like that? That is, it's genius.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
For a while.
I'm excited to see what they do with it. I fully expect it to, as the name indicates, go off the rails with the story, which is fine. That's what I want.
That's the best part. That's the best part, man. I love that. Okay. Finally, for all the DMs and GMs out there, from you to them, what is a good tip or trick to keep players invested over a long-term campaign?
I love this question, and this came up very recently in a DM consult. We were talking about world building, and one of the things that we basically settled on was a phrase that you will hopefully hear other places, but it's make it make sense. As long as your players are having fun and they're getting to do the things they want to do, as long as your details, your world, everything in it just makes sense, then that's going to be what keeps them invested. As long as they can hold that suspension of disbelief, that's what's going to keep them coming back. So no matter what, as long as you're focused on making everything make sense, whatever you put in there will be fantastic.
There's been several times, even watching actual plays, where the players will want to do something that in no way, shape, or form makes sense in how it should work. Like, spells should not work that way. Mm-hmm. And you see the DM in their brain, you see all the numbers going, how can I make this make sense? Mm-hmm. And they do. And those moments are so impactful to the players.
Yep.
Because rules be damned, if I can make something make sense, it's going to be fucking epic.
Yep. So real quick to tag on to that, there's been a couple of moments where my players wanted to, for instance, use a couple of spells to kind of like create another spell to do a very specific thing. I'm like, well, yeah, rules is written. No, like, that's not ever going to work, but I'm also not that kind of DM. And so I'm like, and so I try to empower my players of, I get what you're saying. Like, let's actually like let's work this out real fast. Cause I want,
workshop it.
I'm interested
Explain to me how it's going to work.
Yeah. I was like, I just need you to make it make sense to me, so that then I can be like, okay, yeah, so here's how we're gonna, this is what we're gonna roll for that. These are the things that you're gonna need, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So the make it make sense goes both directions, both from a storyteller's point on the DM side and the things you put into your world, but also the things that your players are doing. And I think, so with make it make sense is that, this is a group story thing. And I know some people are more opposed to that. I guess they want the DM to be the one that's super in control, but when you have that kind of back and forth with your players, and you can kind of like table the action, like the game itself, just for a second and say, okay, like, let's talk like meta real fast. I'm interested, this is cool, let's run with this idea, but at the end of the day, we both have to make sure that this actually makes sense in the story. And then we can roll with it, because it'll be fantastic. It'll be amazing. It'll be an understood thing, and we don't have to be like, oh, that was kind of weird, We took 2 minutes to just make it make sense, and then it was kick ass after that.
100, like, that's without a doubt. I mean, as by this point, when this one comes out, people are gonna hear me say this a couple times through these different episodes, but I love the improv nature of tabletop RPGs. Like, that's really what gets my DM brain going. Taking something that I wasn't expecting and going, fuck it, I'm gonna make this work, because this is too cool of a moment, and I know the story is gonna go in a direction I wasn't expecting. I love, like, challenge my brain, and I will let you get away with almost anything.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And so it just comes down to just make it make sense, whatever that entails. As long as you can do that, it's gonna feel like it was always supposed to be.
100%. Like, no, definitely. Oh, I could go on. Okay, so what you are going to do with me, because I'm setting this up right now, is I'm going to have a couple DMs, I'm going to have a couple players, and then somebody that's not actually in the game at all but wants to play. We are going to have a round table.
Okay.
And I'm going to compile a whole bunch of questions, and we are just going to talk for like an hour and a half, and
I'm so excited for this.
Have fun, because people need this. I've got a couple round tables planned in different areas and different categories and things like that. I'm very excited. It's
hell yeah, dude. No, this sounds so fun.
it's gonna be wild, man. I can't wait. But anyways, so we're gonna wrap it up here right now. We're just, let us know where people can find you.
Yeah, primarily I would say on Threads. It's the DM's Guide altogether. THEDMSGUIDE. I think all the rest of my contact information is there. I've got a website, the-dms-guide.square.site. That's where I sell the maps and the DM consult stuff. But yeah, I would just say reach out on Threads, or my Insta matches my Threads handle, so you can DM me there if need be. I can give you my email address. But yeah, that's the easiest place to find me. That's generally where I'm hanging out, even if I'm not actively posting. I'm always looking through other people's stuff, and hopefully soon I can get back to I would like to get back to posting some lore and things from Off the Rails.
Definitely. And so that's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, dude,
it's been an amazing time. We're going to be doing this again. There's so much more to talk about.
Oh yeah, you just scratched an itch a little bit, but man, yeah, anytime, hit me up. This is something I could talk about, whether it's D&D or just TTRPGs in general, or from the world, whatever it is that's involved in
hours.
That. Yeah, for sure, so.
Dude. My brain is flying right now. All right, we'll wrap it up. Have a great one. Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, man. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much to the DM's Guide for an amazing chat. I loved every minute of it. And thank you to everyone who listened. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment wherever you happen to be listening. Don't forget to check out all the links below, follow the DM's Guide, and grab your pre-order of Cherry Trail by S.M.R. Burton. I've been your host, Chris Corvan, and you can find me everywhere at Chris of the Void. This has been the Dripping Creativity Podcast, part of the Creative Coffee Cafe community. Remember, stay creative, stay inspired, and until next time, see ya.